Good evening, everybody. You know what? That's a little, wow, I didn't realize how. There we go. That's better, right? Yep, there we go. I did not realize how dark that was. Incredibly dark. You'll have to excuse me. It is Friday night. Happy Friday night, everybody. It's Friday night. I'm fried on Friday night and taking flight, if you couldn't decipher my dyslexic stuff, which hopefully you couldn't. Regardless, excuse me. I do have a little bit of oily skin. It's been a long day. It is now, for me, it is now 10:20, technically 10:22, 23, somewhere there. But yeah, it's, let's just say, I've had a long day. It's been a good day, but I do have a bit of oily skin going on. So please excuse that. Anywho, I hope everybody's having a nice Friday night. And for those of you who this is the weekend, I hope it's started well for you. I hope you're with the ones that you love most throughout the weekend and spending good time with them. There was almost had one show that was going to go on, but going to end up doing it a different way. And I think that's better for the person involved. I do not want to say that person because I don't want to have any prejudgment on the situation once we do present it. But one of the things that I pointed out, and it's in this world, we've gotten to the point as a society, we've gotten to where, how do I put this? I'll make sure I say this delicately, or else I'm the one that's going on a rant. If we say things to a certain, there's one way to present something that has happened to us unjustly, and there is another way. Let me just start there, right? There's at least two different ways that you can present to the world how you have been unjustly, what's the word? Not accused, treated, unjustly treated, right? Or mistreated, if you will. Even maybe that was where I was going with the MIS a minute ago. The point here being, if you say it one way, you are just going on a rant. And I see people all the time that I think actually one of the best examples. Has anybody seen that new movie with Nicolas Cage? What is it? It's Dream Scenario, I believe is the name of it. And in a simple elevator pitch nutshell, this guy all of a sudden just starts appearing in everybody's dreams, like millions upon millions, like hundreds of millions of people start dreaming about him. He's in their dream, right? And at the beginning, and what I mean by that is it kind of happens in phases. The first phase is he really has no interaction with the dream. He's just standing there watching, right? The next phase is he starts interacting, whether it be sexual or other ways. And then the third phase is the interaction becomes extremely negative to where he's killing them in the dream. So by the end of it, by the end of the cycles, if you will, of these three phases, they're absolutely scared fucking shitless of this dude, right? They're scared shitless of him because of the dreams. And when he tries to go on to, it's funny because he goes on to YouTube, right? And tries to have a plea with the world and he starts crying. Everybody just takes it the wrong way. Does he have a true point? Does he have a real, like an absolute reason? And has he been unjustly, in this case, unjustly accused because he's committed no crime? It's all in their dreams, for God's sakes. Obviously something magical and mystical is happening because everybody's dreaming about the same guy and they've never met him. But the point still being, he physically has done nothing. He has not reached out into their dreams. He did not do this, right? But he's being treated as if he did. So when he goes on this rant, if you will, about how he's done nothing and he's crying, that only adds to what those people like. It just adds to their perception of him. Does that make sense? If your perception has become that you are a crazy individual and you're a killer, right? And you go and do something like that, then people are going to be like, see, that just makes sense. So when people have gained a perception of you, or you know what the known perception of you is, right? Then the whole key is to find a way to have them not look at you that way. So you want to do things that, in essence, I'm not trying to sound manipulative. You still want to be you, but you want to show them the side of you that steers them away from thinking whatever it is that they may be thinking of you, especially if it's one that maybe you're crazy and out of, you're insane, or you could hurt somebody, either homicidal, suicidal, whatever the case, right? By the way, I don't even know if I said it. Hello, everybody. I'm Spirit of 420, because everything I do is so 420. I don't remember saying that. Maybe it's just me because I'm really high. I was enjoying. Just to take a quick break, since I've kind of finished up that point anyway. I've been watching. I finally started watching because I don't know. I fight watching a lot of stuff, and I won't go into that right now. But I have been watching, and I'm now only one episode away from being done with the third season. But I've been watching this anthology from HBO called True Detective. I'm sure some of you have seen it, and maybe a lot of you have. But I've just now started watching it. And it's really, it's quite good. I will say this. It's funny that I finally started watching it because after Fargo, and apparently this actually came out before Fargo, but after Fargo did what it did, I was like, I wish there were more things like this. Anywho, so I was watching, we were on episode 7, season 3, and I kind of lost count of the number of dabs that I did. I know this, not only am I high, but apparently it's Pride Month, so you can't even tell, can you? You can't tell. This is flashing and like you can't tell, but it's like I don't know. See, blue, pink, red, green. It's rainbowy. It's cheap. It's something that my wife got. You can't see the color, can you? But you can kind of see it up against there. I can't remember what it was. It was something. She works as she basically is a supervisor in essence over being a banquet person. So handling banquets. I'm not going to tell you where she works or any of that stuff because that's her business. So, anywho, back to Drew Detective. Did you hear that? Drew Detective. Okay. Anyway, it's quite good. I'm looking forward to finishing up the season next week. If you're wondering why I'm not just going to watch the later, because this is one that I'm watching with one of my sons who comes over every Friday, and we started out from the beginning. So, and I found out they just got signed. Actually, quite happy about it since I just found them. They just had a season 4 this past year. Yeah, in 2024, and they're about to have. I shouldn't say about to. They have agreed and signed on to do a season 5. When that will come out, I have no. My guess, based on the series so far, is it wouldn't be before 26, but probably closer to 27. But thus far, the acting in all of them has been outstanding. The direction has been outstanding. They're all produced, funny enough, by the 2 guys that starred in the original. So Woody Harrelson and oh, ding dong, producers, they continue. I'm pretty sure they've produced all of it, and I think it has some of the same writers. I'm not 100% sure, but really is solid. If you haven't ever watched it, give it a watch. You'll enjoy it. So, Fried on Friday night. Anybody have anything that they would like to talk about? If you don't know what those two acronyms are, one, YOLO. Come on, man. How do y'all, if you don't know this one, it's really sad. I almost don't want to say it. I feel like I should just write it in chat or something. You only live once, right? Now, when I say that, I want to say this. You only live this life once. That's how I see it. I absolutely and 100% know that there is more after this. This is a as I love how a lot of the movies have tagged on, death is only the beginning. Although in my world and my understanding, I already had some before this. My guess is that we're kind of privy to everything we've done during the in between, if you will, right? But if you really want to learn something and you want to find something out about yourself, think about it. It's like the control of an experiment, right? If you're doing an experiment, you always have the control factor. The control with this, and I'm not saying it as an experiment. What I'm saying it as is if you want to find out, right, about yourself, you want to truly know who you are and what you hold dear. Well, it seems like you would put yourself in a situation where you would not have any idea that that is the goal. And why is that? Because you're going to get the purest form of who you are. Do you even seek that? When presented with the opportunities to learn more, which if you're going into some type of simulated life, which we clearly know we are, take away the word simulated, take away the word simulation, or take away the thought, of a computer program when I say simulation, and understand that you are living in a form of a simulation that only your eyes and your senses can read and observe the way that it is given. If you don't believe me, well, have you accepted the fact that we break down to atoms? If you look at us on a microscopic level, we all break down. Everything breaks down to atoms, including the oxygen in which you breathe and the carbon dioxide in which you exhale. Therefore, bingo, simulation. Okay. I'm not talking about computer simulation. I'm talking about based on what the definition. And here, I know there's so many people out there arguing, but I've done this before, and I'm just going to look up the word simulation and give you an understanding of how I view this word. Oh, by the way, you'll love this. So my MacBook, I know I'll remember simulation. Don't worry, I won't forget. Here, I'll be smart about it, assholes. So my computer, my MacBook Pro 15 that I bought back in 18, fucking just a workhorse beast. If it quit on me about 3 weeks ago, a little over that. And I have a Shuron through Verizon, right? And we're talking about a MacBook Pro that at the time, I jacked this bitch up. I got as much at the time. This was 6 years ago. So I got everything as high as I could at that time. And that MacBook Pro ended up costing me, I do get, the boys are work from home, so we get the educational discount. So it was like a $4,500 computer. I think we ended up paying like $3,800. This is what they offered me for replacement. Fucking Dells. I can't even, I mean, I don't have it here in front of me, but one of the things that, they all have backups, but Mac's backup is just like everything is different than everybody else's. And they're all different, right? Like you can't back up a, Chrome and then go put that back up on a Windows. I know you can migrate, but it's not the same. It never comes out to giving you exactly what you experienced, and it's just not, you know, it's not the same. Not only that, but it's not like what's funny is when I called. So I first saw this and I immediately called Sharon and I was like, I told the people at Ubreak iFix. Then I called Sharon, and every single person I've talked to, and I've talked to probably like 7 total within the company now. They all were even surprised. They're like, they didn't provide you one Mac replacement option. And I was like, no. I mean, I would have even, no offense, like if you're replacing it, I get that my Mac, you can't replace, it's not going to be the same, but you could at least do a refurb. You could do something. Like there's options. They're just not willing to do it. They're not saying that they're not saying that my old Mac was worth enough. So I don't use Windows, and now I'm forced to do that. I called and I'm looking for a reimbursement. I guarantee you they're going to come. Those 2 that I showed you, those 2 Dells, low and high end is, I think I told my wife 900, but I think I saw the low end on the lowest one was 850 and the highest on the highest was 1100. My bet, I hope that it doesn't happen, is that they're going to give me a reimbursement claim of less than that. And here's the other thing too. I plan on writing a review on this because I find it just insulting. This is my equipment. All right. I'm not like a lot of folks with their computers. Like it's a piece of me. I work on these things all day. They're not just a tool, this being the one that is most a part of me. I guess that's the best word I can come up with right now. That said, I plan on I got the computer back, right? And I have every intention of taking it to a local geek here in town. He's called the Springs Geek, as a matter of fact. That's why I call him local geek. And finding out what he says, because Sharon says that the motherboard and the hard drive are one unit. I've never heard of that. I'm not saying that it's not the case, but I've got to look it up because I've never heard of that. And when I opened up this computer back in the day just to clean it, I did not see it having separate hard drive and separate, or excuse me, I saw it as having separate components, just like every computer, even Macs. I mean, they're thin, but they're still, each is a different piece, now, have I seen the, certain things with the like graphics cards and other things like that built into the motherboard? Yeah, but I don't believe that. Either way, I want somebody else to tell me. Another thing too is it doesn't affect the screen whatsoever, but there's a little tiny, how I say it, like it almost looks like, think of like a miniature BB hit my monitor, but in that black edge part, and it has no bearing. It doesn't even have there's no glitch or anything even close to it on the screen. So it's not affected that part of it. And they wanted to replace that part of the computer, which means the entire top part of the MacBook gets replaced. The entire top, right? That's replacing the screen. And I'm like, there's no need to do that. I didn't want to do that. But I guarantee you that adds, because they were like, you have to replace the monitor, you have to replace this, and their excuse is for insurance purposes. It's always that. And their whole thing is if they replace or reimburse, they keep the old equipment to salvage and refurbish. Fuck you. That's not, no. What? No. Apparently the young woman I talked to, who was a sweetheart, was like, yeah, you got lucky. You're not supposed to have gotten that back. And I'm like, I did not agree to that when I signed anything or paid you $100 deductible. I didn't ever agree that you get to keep the computer that is no longer booting up. Again, you know, I think I just told you the other night, but I've started a new job and I have every intention of, once my job gets going, of trying to salvage that computer. I say that because I still have an '09 and a 2011 MacBook Pro, two different ones that are still, they still boot up today. You know, can they run the modern operating system? Absolutely not. That's not the point. The point is there's information and things. They both have programs that did not make next generations. And what I mean by that is funny enough, there's just certain things that you lose when you go to, and that was only 2 years. I went from '09 to 11. Then I went from 11 to 18. And now it's 18. So 11 to 18 was 7 years. Now this time is 18 to 24. So we're talking 6 years. A lot changes, and there's going to be certain things that only that computer can do, right? Most definitely, because now all Macs are all on Apple silicon, which I'm fine with. I'm happy with the performance, but the reality is you're not going to see half of the stuff that computer runs is not going to be, you're not going to be able to run it on a modern Mac. But I will tell you this, people, they doubt me, but that thing was a fucking workhorse. I continually kept, I use Chrome, right? And I also, each project or whatever I'm working on, you know, like Spirit of 420 has its own window with all of its own tabs. Whatever company I'm working for has its own window. Then I have my personal email and it has its own window. Any project has its own. And then sometimes I have multiple windows open for a single, good night, for a single profile, right? In any case, I would keep anywhere between 5 to as many as 7 windows open, and each window had oodles of tabs because I put them all in groups, you know. So let's just say on the average 15 groups, each group has an average of maybe 5 to 7 tabs within it. So that's, I mean, like, and it's, now granted they go to sleep when you close them, but, or when you know, when they're not open, if you will. But my point is still my point. It's always running a buku amount of information, and it was fine. It was fun. My turds, I can hear the young ones in there, and they're distracting me. That's all I can say. So now that we've discussed the tangent, that wasn't a rant. That was a tangent. A rant tinge. Let's see. Okay. Simulation. Excuse me. Simulation. Definition. I got to put the glasses back on. All right. So let's just get the full. All right. So simulation, imitation of a situation or process. The action of pretending or deception, the production of a computer model or something, especially for the purpose of study. The first one, I think, best says it. Imitation of a situation or process. This is an imitation of life. It's what we know. It's based on the fact that we're all pure energy. Each one of those atoms has a nucleus, right? And has a proton and a neutron forever circling it. And there's billions, trillions upon trillions of them, is what makes us everything that we see. They give us this world, this imitation of a world that we can grab a hold of, we can hear, right? We can smell, taste. I'm not going to taste, that would be disgusting. But you get my point, right? I think it's funny because one of the best lines I've always liked, and not because it's clever, but because I think it brings up a good point that it's probably something, and I think that's why they talk about it. But in Matrix, when he's like, that's why maybe everything tastes like chicken, right? Because they didn't know what it tastes like. I think that we find certain things have the same taste because there's just only so many, there's just a finite number of everything, right? There's only so many versions of a certain thing that you can have. Everybody wants to believe in infinity, but I don't think that that's possible in this. I think there could be an infinite number of universes. That is a different concept than what I'm talking about. I don't think there can be an infinite number of tastes, right? The taste bud is a programmed piece of tissue to taste, and I think there's probably only a certain number of tastes that it, like the way certain animals only have a certain number of vocabulary. I think, what is it, a cockatiel, the smaller version of a cockatoo. Yeah, cockatiel. I think the cockatiel has like 1,100 or something like that words in its vocabulary, but that's it. Like, this is what it has, and that's the capacity. I think the tongue is probably very similar in the sense that there's just only so many tastes. Therefore, with all the things that there are to taste in the world, particularly all the different meats, right? That's why some meats taste virtually the same as another. I mean, you can say what you want, but to me, a good bison burger or even a good venison burger, either one, just tastes like an excellent fucking burger to me. I would imagine, and I'm not saying go out and do it, but I would imagine that horse probably tastes pretty fucking good too. In fact, I would imagine it tastes way better than cow, simply because of the fact that, and I wouldn't eat a horse, Mom. I know that my mom's watching. Horse, I got you. That's horrible. But unfortunately, people have eaten horse. There's also goat and donkey and all these other. I mean, they've all been eaten. There's Meats of the World somewhere in this country that sells virtually every fucking meat you can think of. And a lot of them taste the same as, a lot of them taste very similar to one another. Sometimes even when you're talking about different species tasting the same, like the fact that there are certain fish that taste pretty much like chicken. I mean, it is what it is. And by the way, the reason I bring up and said what I said about the Matrix, if you've never looked at the Matrix symbolically speaking, and what I mean by that is take away what they're saying literally and look at it and how it directly correlates to what you're living right now, right? Symbolically speaking, you will find a lot of, just one of the ones I'd already woken up to a lot of them, or at least let me put that. I thought that I was aware of a lot of them. Then I watched, and I will never give it up. I still have it over here. The first version I got of it was DVD because, of course, when this came out, Blu-rays were not. It's called Ultimate Matrix, right? And obviously, it has the 3 movies, and it has the Animatrix, but then it has the Matrix Experience, right? On here, it's a 2-disc thing, but there's one specific. It's multiple. There's multiple. What's the word I'm looking for? Documentaries, I guess you could say, or specials, right? But the one is, it's so on this one, it's side B, and they call it The Roots of the Matrix. But the one, it's again, it's multiple documentaries or looks at deep dives, whatever you want to call it. This one is called Return to Source: Philosophy and the Matrix and the Hard Problem. The science behind the fiction, right? So it's insightful documentaries that probe the historical, philosophical, and technological inspirations of the Matrix trilogy. Now, I know that a lot of people, I'm not so into it that I think we're batteries number one, folks, and I do not. It's unfortunate that people have actually, I don't know if y'all know this, but there was a documentary not too long ago during the pandemic called A Glitch in the Matrix. And part of that actually examined the fact that this one kid lost his mind so much in the Matrix that, and what I mean by that is he lost his mind so much within the story, in the verse created by the Matrix, that he ended up killing his parents, thinking that they were simulations, right? What my point is these guys were obviously, and they're gals, by the way. These gals, excuse me, and guys at the time, obviously understand the concepts of the world that we live in, right? Because it really is dealing with it, right? It is a fictional story by all means. However, it's written because of the fact that there's a lot of stuff going on in it that we deal with. We're born into a world that we don't understand, right? We are delivered different types of, hold on one second. We are delivered, well, I really should say it depends on where you're born, but depending on the country that you're born, you are delivered either one or multiple, what's that fucking word? Origin stories as to where you came from, right? And even the best one doesn't give even none of them, in my opinion, give true, clear, this is where you came from. It's almost like they're different opinions, if you will, right? So again, there's that. However, if you take one of them, and what I mean by that is there's one, I shouldn't say one. I believe the Mayans, as well as I believe the Anunnaki, supposedly said this too, to the Sumerians, right? I believe that's who. I believe, if I'm getting it right, my brain I am high. But supposedly we're on like the 6th version. That's why in the Matrix, that's the 6th version. There's these coinciding things. The whole reason is, and I'm leaving it for you to go dig it upon yourself. I'm not going to try to put it all in a nutshell. I will put this in a nutshell. The Matrix and that whole story was kind of those two people, let's just leave it at that, dealing with the world as they know it in a fictional story of, and how they fictionally dealt with those problems. And it's up to us to kind of look at them and correlate them and go, how can we, do the same thing and apply it to our real lives? That was part of what it was. With that said, I still come back to the fact that, we do all these things, we feel, we smell, we taste, see, hear. I almost forgot all my senses. One of the things that I find, to me, the 6th sense, everybody's talking about a 6th sense, but to me, the 6th sense is actually thinking, because it's those 5 senses then give you your 6th sense, and that is to put it all together and process it, right? And think in that sense. It's in the words that we use to describe it many times. Regardless, we do those things, and I think we take it for granted. I know one thing: somebody who is deaf or blind, deaf and blind, definitely, or mute, or all the, like, Helen Keller as a perfect example. Yes, it took some time and it was frustrating, but anybody that has any sense in them at all left can communicate, and the other senses do become stronger. I mean, I'm sure that most of y'all have played some of those games when we're growing up where you get complete blockage of the ears, right? Or complete blockage of the eyes, right? And you can feel your other senses, especially if you do both of them, right? You do both. It's a real, and I mean this pun, but it's a real eye opener, right? What's funny is when you get those back, how everything seems amplified. It's one of the reasons why, and I don't know if any of y'all have ever had an opportunity to do it. I would love to do the sensory deprivation, right? Go into that. That seems like that would be, I want to say, even almost a little scary. I'm not even kidding. Like, I know that people, they monitor you obviously for a very important reason, because when left without those senses and just the mind, where do we go? Right? That's part of it. So I got a picture of my old man that looks back at me. I start the new job Monday. I will be streaming again on Tuesday. I'm going to be working all weekend, just so you know. For anybody who cares, I'll be working all weekend to make this office not depressed anymore. To turn this office into a don't worry, buddy, I don't know if I'm going to be here much longer, but I appreciate you. I see you. And I still see your previous comments there. They're up there. So I'm going to turn the office back into a positive, not just positive, inspirational, positive space, right? I've told y'all before, and I'm not kidding. Here we go again. I'm constantly I have to turn off. And what's funny is my son comes to me the other day and he's like, Dad, or actually he was up here, right? And I was downstairs. He's like, Dad, yeah, your Xbox is on. It's not, and the spirit does not turn my Xbox on. It only turns the fan, and I have a fan on the top and a light on the top, right? It's one of these, it's like what's the word? It doubles as decoration as well as good maintenance, because it keeps dust from coming into the top, but at the same time, it has this nice little light show. Regardless, the spirit will turn that on. The spirit will consistently turn on, like pretty much almost every day, the speaker. I kid you not. Every day I come in here and turn it off. One time I've come in and seen the TV. I imagine, my guess, just knowing the way that these things work, is it takes a lot of energy to get the TV turned on. Probably takes the least amount of energy, is my thought process, on getting the speaker to turn on. The next is the Xbox, which is on a much more consistent, I would say about every 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks maybe, is the Xbox is turned on versus just the speaker. I mean, you tell me that's not, I do not believe that is electrical signal that's just turning these things on. One of the other things that happens in this room, and I mean consistently, and doesn't happen in the other room, is the disconnection of Wi-Fi and Wi-Fi devices. Like my printer and other things, they'll just disconnect, and I have to stop what I'm doing, reconnect. And to me, I've come to realize it's just the spirit being the spirit. It's not in any other room. It doesn't, I mean, like we're talking about, it doesn't even happen in there, folks. The office used to be in there, well before I was streaming, and well before it was like basically the first year of my last job was actually, I just did it right out of my bedroom. I had a desk in there already at the time, because this room used to be one of my son's bedrooms. There was actually 2 of them in here, and 2 of them down the hall, and then 2 of them in there. We had a lot of people in the house at one time. So no, literally there was 2 over there, two in each room, and then my mother downstairs. So there was 9 of us in here. Either way, had a perfect little setup, but then once this room emptied, why wouldn't I have my own room for an office, which is exactly what I did, which turned out nice, because I did have plans on doing this whole streaming thing. I knew I was going to get into it and start doing it. So, here we are. Probably a bit of a boring night, and I do apologize for that. I have a lot on my mind, but I will tell you this, I'm extremely excited. I can't wait to report to you how Monday, by the time I see you next, I will have 2 days under my belt. So I'll have not only a much more concise understanding of what I'm going to be selling, but a much better, a much more well-rounded understanding of what my day-to-day is going to be like too. Because it won't take long. I'll be training, but even in those first few days, I'll understand what I'll do from the time I start to the time I'm done. So, actually, very excited about Monday. Anyway, Joe, I love you, buddy. If you want to call me later, you can. I hope that you're doing better. I would highly recommend, I know you just got here, but please, I know you will, go back and watch at least the first 20 minutes of the show. For everybody else, I hope that y'all have a blessed weekend, as I've already started to say. I really do mean it when I say this. It's kind of one of the things that I say now, but I truly hope that you spend this weekend with those you love the most. And let them know that, give them an extra hug or maybe an extra squeeze when you see them, or, just an extra look, or maybe a point, whatever. Do something that you don't normally do that lets them know just how much you love them, right? You never know what's going to happen, folks. I promise. And I don't mean that as an omen. I'm just saying we all leave. So most of us don't have the pleasure. And when I say most of us, only those who get, and the ones that do, it's not a pleasure because it's usually a terminal illness or something that's telling them when they're going to die, but we're all going to die. Most of us don't have the understanding or even realization of when it's going to happen. So truly, that's why I put YOLO. You do only live once. You only live this life one time. Live it to the fullest. Live it as if tomorrow was your last day, right? And for those of you who don't know what the other one means right after it, that's everything happens for a reason, right? I live by that now. And all I can tell you is, I'll just give you this quick thing as I sign off. I used to laugh at all those people. And I would make fun of them for years, the people that would thank God and all that. And I didn't get it. I really thought that a lot of them were just being cheesy and just saying it so that Christians and other God people liked them, right? I didn't believe them. That's, in the simplest of terms, I didn't believe them, and I thought that they were saying it to be full of shit. I now get it. And that's all I can tell you. And if anybody ever wants to know, I continue to leave this open, and I'll continue to tell stories, and hopefully you'll get it. But if anybody wants to know the specifics, before I get a chance to say all of them, you can always reach out to me. Or if you just want a understanding of what it means for me, you can always reach out, or go back and watch a lot of my old videos, because I talked about it a lot in the first, I would say the first 2 seasons. So anyway, I love all of y'all. I hope you have a blessed evening. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy it. And again, spend it with those you love most. Have a blast. See you on Tuesday evening. I don't know exactly what time, but I'm guessing probably, I really like, probably unless it's Friday or Saturday. Friday and Saturdays, I'll probably do this 10:20 thing, Mountain Time. But I think for the Monday through Thursday days, I think I'll probably go on at 9:20 Mountain Time, which really just works out well for those on the East. 9:20 means 11:20 Mountain, or 11:20 Eastern, and then obviously that's going to be 8:20 Pac time. So anyway, I love all of y'all. Have a good evening. Peace.
I switch here, I'm a strange fuck. Consist on ain't something I could say well. Fill my change into the wishing for a change well. Wish your day a swell life for the next come. And when the next come, pretend that it's the best one. Like I ain't even gonna try and say that to the next one.